In the hallowed halls of comedic discourse, Andrew Schulz, the Socratic savant of stand-up, unfurls the tapestry of Katt Williams' prowess, lauding his ability to fill arenas with laughter solely through the alchemy of talent and humor.
It's like,
but I think Katt's talented enough and funny enough that I feel like he could sell out a tour without having to be taking people down.
he's undeniably one of the most talented and hilarious comedians ever. That being said, this works.
Yeah.
And sometimes when something works, it's hard to change. Like there are rappers that are, Drake is talented enough to not mention another rapper ever once in his music, ever. But when he does it, it works. And we start talking, we think about the rivalry, we think about the beef. So yeah, it's one of those tricky things. It's talent might not mean that you'll just rely on that or find some other, creative way to get the attention that you want. And
do you think this is going to start a trend of people promoting their shows by
on one another?
Yeah.
Usually you see it with more desperate comics. You know what I mean? Like Katt to me is not desperate. Like you said, he's a genius. He's been doing this for decades. But like usually you see it with comics that are like they're struggling for relevance, or they either lost relevance, and it's not just comics, it's pretty much any industry, or they're really resentful that other people that they think they're funnier than have success, and that resentment or bitterness kind of comes out through that criticism. And they're like, oh yeah, these people are only on, or these people are only doing this because of this thing that they don't do. But it's rare to see somebody at this level to take those shots, unless you in hip hop and the highest level is who's taking the shots.
Right.
You might even argue that it happens more at that level. You know what I mean? Because at the lower level, who you gonna beef with? Drake?
Yeah.
Drake don't even know your name.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's fascinating to see.
I do think the person that handled it best was Joe.
Joe killed it. He's like, we love you. We talk about you on the show all the time. I'd love to have you on the show.
Yeah.
Because Katt was like, yeah, he doesn't want me on his show. And he could have been defensive.
Not defensive at all.
He's like, I love you. I want to have you on the show.
Yeah, come on.
I mean,
And that would be
he saw those numbers.
amazing.
Why wouldn't he?
I mean, low key.
I'm sure he probably did beforehand,
Yeah,
but
like-
after seeing that, who doesn't want Katt?
But
on
he's
their show
always
right
spoken highly of Katt.
Yeah.
I mean, Katt's just got some iconic specials. That's the thing. Like Katt, I think Katt is maybe in his head, he sees himself as like a street dude comic and real for the streets and blah, blah, blah. But like, I think Katt has crossed over to mainstream with stand-up. Like only maybe a handful of other comedies that came up in the strictly black circuit in history. Like, I don't know a white person that hasn't loved It's Pimpin', or what's the other one? Hustle.
Every day I'm hustling.
Every day, like,
Pimp Chronicles, American Hustle.
it was like mandatory viewing.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I wonder if his perception of his fame is actually skewed. Maybe he doesn't realize how much he's actually crossed over and how much white people, brown people with him.
Possibly. But he also is just acting like a comic, because you guys are some of the most competitive motherfuckers.
Oh, and sensitive. And sensitive.
So if you combine those two things,
Bad.
competitiveness and sensitiveness, oh my God.
Yeah.
And ego sometimes, like that shit is crazy.
Yep.
So he's just kind of just talking, I think, the way like sometimes comics might talk in like a green room or something like that, but he's just doing it publicly.
He's just airing it out. But he's so calculated. He's so smart. He knows what he's doing. That's the thing. Like,
oh yeah, he absolutely knew.
Yeah, and he was right.
There's a couple times he chuckled to himself during. He's like, "Oh, I'm the greatest." he knew this was.
It's a lyrical ballet where Williams pirouettes through punchlines, unburdened by the need to dismantle his comedic brethren. Schulz, in a soliloquy reminiscent of Cicero's oratory, extols Williams as one of the paragons of hilarity, a luminary illuminating the comedic cosmos. However, Schulz, with a quizzical furrow reminiscent of Einstein contemplating the cosmos, notes the paradox. He suggests that when one discovers a formula that turns laughter into a perennial harvest, the temptation to alter the recipe becomes as challenging as threading a needle in a cosmic haystack. This phenomenon, akin to Sisyphus laboring against the immutable laws of hilarity, is illustrated by the parallel drawing to rappers like Drake, who, despite soaring on the wings of solo success, still choose to weave their rhymes into the tapestry of others' careers. The comedic saga, Schulz opines, takes a twist in the labyrinth of promotional strategies. He unfurls a scroll of observation, noting the rising trend where comedians launch promotional campaigns by sowing seeds of discontent, engaging in theatrical beefs that rival the grandiosity of gladiatorial spectacles. Schulz, with the discernment of a fortune teller deciphering ancient runes, observes that such antics are more commonly the province of those grappling for the elixir of relevance or nursing the wounds of envy. Schulz's gaze then shifts to Katt, a comedic maestro at the apex of his craft, yet paradoxically embroiled in the dance of verbal sparring. The philosopher-comedian compares this to the domain of hip-hop, where lyrical battles are as commonplace as laurels in ancient Rome. Schulz, with the sagacity of a modern-day Heraclitus, muses on the fascinating spectacle of someone of William's stature entering the proverbial ring of jesting jousts, typically the stomping ground of hip-hop bards. The comedic symphony reaches a crescendo as Schulz extols the virtuosity of Joe Rogan in navigating the tempest stirred by William's comedic onslaught. In the amphitheater of response, Rogan, akin to a martial arts sage, deflects the verbal blows with grace and poise. The contrast, Schulz notes, is like watching a philosophical gladiator maneuvering through the arena, demonstrating that wit can be as sharp as a gladiator's sword. Yet, Schulz's praise for Williams is tinged with a sotto voce of perplexity. He suggests that Williams, adorned with the laurels of iconic specials, may not fully apprehend the vastness of his celebrity and the resonance of his comedy across mainstream audiences. The comedic oracle contemplates whether Williams, a sage of jests, might not fully grasp the breadth of his influence in the comedic agora. In the mosaic of comedic critique, an alternative voice surfaces, adding hues of divergence to the canvas painted by Andrew Schulz. Enter the sage of satire, Bill Burr, a comedic titan known for his unfiltered take on societal absurdities. Burr, with the irreverence of a jester challenging the court, might offer a contrasting viewpoint on the Katt-Williams situation. Burr, known for his acerbic wit and fearless commentary, could argue that the comedic realm is an ever-shifting landscape where jesters must adapt or risk fading into the shadows. He might contend that engaging in verbal jousts, as exemplified by Williams, is a strategic move to stay relevant in an industry that thrives on novelty and controversy. Burr, with the candidness of a raconteur in the court of public opinion, may emphasize the Darwinian nature of the comedic ecosystem, where adaptation and calculated risks are essential for survival. Moreover, Burr might delve into the psyche of comedians, dissecting the competitive undercurrents that propel them to engage in verbal sparring. He could suggest that the comedic community, much like any artistic endeavor, is marked by egos, insecurities, and a perpetual quest for validation. Burr, with the sharpness of a surgeon's scalpel, might navigate the complexities of the comedic mind, positing that the desire to establish dominance or challenge peers is an intrinsic part of the comedic DNA. The sage of satire might also underscore the role of the audience in this intricate dance. Burr, akin to an anthropologist studying societal dynamics, could argue that the audience often craves the drama and spectacle that arise from comedic beefs. He might contend that the blurred lines between reality and performance create a symbiotic relationship where comedians and audiences feed off each other's energy, contributing to the perpetuation of comedic feuds. Additionally, Burr, the seasoned comedic voyager, might draw parallels between the world of stand-up and other competitive industries, arguing that the cutthroat nature of comedy mirrors the dynamics of sports, business, or even politics. He could posit that the impulse to assert dominance and engage in verbal combat is not unique to comedians but a universal trait ingrained in the human psyche. In the caverns of competitive spirit among comedians, Schulz acknowledges the nuanced interplay of sensitivity and rivalry that often fuels these verbal jousts. The comedian, akin to a samurai of wit, treads the delicate balance between the competitive battlefield and the camaraderie of jesters. As the curtain descends on this comedic opera, Schulz, a maestro of comedic analysis, underscores Williams' calculated finesse. Like a chess grandmaster orchestrating a checkmate, Williams, Schulz contends, maneuvers with astute strategy, fully cognizant of the comedic dominion he reigns over. In this philosophical odyssey through the comedic cosmos, Schulz emerges as the Hierophant, decoding the arcane symbols of jests and rivalries. The comedic arena, akin to the labyrinth of Minos, is navigated by the wise and the witty, where laughter and camaraderie dance on the razor's edge of rivalry and calculation.